Okay, so without further ado, I would like to hand over to Emma Wynne from Gateway HR, who is going to do a great presentation. Hopefully you should be able to see that on your screens with regards to unlocking potential and how to build your team. Emma.
Thank you.
Should be all ready.
Okay. Okay. Right. Well, morning, everybody, in person and online. So my name's Emma Wynne from Gateway HR. I've got a few slides to share with you today. Just do. Oh, and Greg's here as well. Yeah. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. So just a little bit about me / us. So this is the Gateway team. Actually, we've got more members of the team now, but possibly the most important is the dog in the middle, the office dog. And yes, we do write HR policies around having dogs in the workplace, modelled by Daisy. So we're a Corby-based business, so we're literally 5 minutes from here. I've been in Corby for 10 years next month. We will have been in Corby, but 17 years in total as a business, always in North Northamptonshire. And this is an image from our office wall, because my vision of HR has always been that actually, if you look after people, basically, develop them, employing people will be the best thing that you ever do. Sadly, quite often what people think HR is sacking people, doing the not very nice things. As a team, we can do what I always call the dark side of HR. We can do those things because we also live in the real world, and we know that sometimes things don't work out. But my overall message, which you'll see from today, we will cover some of the legalities, is that actually, it's quite simple. Look after people, value what they do, develop them so they're good at what they do, and those problems won't happen very often, if at all. So yeah, so that's me. So I've worked in HR most of my career, so got a 20-something years, 17 of which within Gateway. So we provide HR mainly to small businesses. We do projects with bigger businesses, but mainly small businesses who don't need or can't afford an internal HR person, but still need HR to be able to ask those questions. And I do have right at the end a very nice freebie for everybody online and in the room as well. So that's that. This is what we're going to have a look at. But what I should have said at the beginning is do just ask questions at any point. So if you're in the room, just wave at me. I will notice or just show, oi, Emma, I've got a question. And online, my able assistant, Brian, will say, Emma, got a question. So you don't have to wait till the end. We'll have time for questions at the end, but don't sit there thinking, oh, I'm not sure about that. Do just shout. So we're going to be looking at the signs that you need to add to your team and thinking about who should that be. Again, I started Gateway from our kitchen table 17 years ago. I'll be honest, I never thought I'd employ anybody. I thought it would just be me. But things happen and you think, actually, I need more people in the team. So I'll share that with you. A little bit about where to find, most importantly, great team members. Because you can find people, but you don't want people, you want great people. So where do you find them? And how do you attract them to your business? And the good news is, if you're a small business, it's not about the money. So if you're thinking, yeah, but I'm competing with bigger salaries, amazing benefits, all the research, some of which I'll share with you today, that's not what does it in terms of attracting the best people. A little bit, because I couldn't not, your obligations as an employer. So what do you need to do? If you already employ, you might think, oh, I haven't done that. And we can help you. I can share some stuff. Or if we're at the point where I'm thinking of employing, trying to get it right from day one, so it doesn't come back to bite you at any point in the future. And then linked back to what I said before, how to ensure your team love working with you. Because then it makes or most days a pleasure. We all have our off days, but actually I'm very much a believer, if you like who you work with, then we spend most of our work, certainly working week, we spend more time with our colleagues than we do with our family. So if you don't like them, it's not a very nice place to be. And we've probably all been there. I'm not going to ask you that, but we probably have all worked with people you think, oh no, another day with those people. So I'm just going to ask quickly for the people in the room. Have we got, well, by show of hands, who already employs people? Got a 1, 2, good. I was going to say you, because my fellow business owner is here. Apologies to people online. There is chocolate in the room. Fabulous. And is anybody thinking of employing or at that point? Oh, okay. Excellent. So, yeah. So, question. So, is now the right time? So, like I said, when I started my business, I always thought it would just be me. You know, HR consultant, has happened, traveling all over the place. And again, just whether it's relevant or not to people on the room and online, I did do all of this at that point. Well, I started the business when my daughter was 9 months old. So again, if there are parents in the room, it is possible. And sometimes trying to get that balance right between work and family may well be the reason, or one of the reasons, that it's time to add to your team. So, yeah. So this was probably part of the reason for me, not the main reason, which I'll share in a minute. But you'll get to that point if there's just one of you, however amazing you are at what you do, you can't earn any more money because there is only one of you. There are only 24 hours in the day, 7 days in the week, and hopefully you're not working all of them. So it's thinking actually, and it might be you think, well, that's fine. I'm going to cap it at this, and that's that. But thinking actually, oh, I'm actually turning work away now because I can't do any more. So it's thinking, right, I need to add to the team. This was definitely me. Key kind of, I say admin, and I use the word admin very, very broadly. It's starting to fall, but I'm sure that probably in the first sort of year and a half, I employed about 18 months. There was probably loads of work that I never invoiced for. So firstly, it's not my strength in terms of kind of the admin side, and just didn't have time or forgot. And sadly, not every business is honest enough to say, excuse me, you haven't charged me for the work that you've done. But again, keeping good records, etc., etc. And the things that had to happen, being in HR in terms of typing things up, you know, when you're still working at 11 o'clock at night, think something needs to change. No time to work on your business. So I know Richard in the room, well, probably everybody in the room will talk about this and understand this. So Richard, obviously, because those of you online can't see, is a marketing whiz. But again, you have to have time to do that. So again, otherwise your business isn't going to grow. So again, you're keeping up with everything, but you've probably always got that thing at your back of your mind thinking, but where's the next bit of work coming from? Because I'm not doing my social media, I'm not doing my marketing, I'm not doing those kind of things. Hopefully not, but potentially starting to make mistakes because you're too busy. You're trying to do too much, and potentially complaints. And then all the hard work you've put in to get to that point is starting to go backwards. You think, oh, I missed something, I did something wrong. You're glad to hear this. This is not one of my reasons, but working in HR, you're very conscious not to do that because that could cost your clients a huge amount of money and therefore you a huge amount of money if you mess it up for them. And really importantly, and I'd say mine was a combination of key admin tasks and mental health. Thinking, actually, I can't do this forever. And my co-business owner and husband is in the room, and I'm sure he would agree, thinking, actually, otherwise we won't be married. So we'll have a business, but we won't like each other anymore. I think actually I set the business up originally to fit around the family. I think actually I don't want to go back to work full time. I want that flexibility that does come with running your own business, even though it doesn't feel like that sometimes. Thinking actually I'm working more hours than I did when I was employed. So lots of different reasons. And then the next thing, of course, is thinking, well, what do I need? So for us, it was somebody to do those admin tasks, to make sure that we actually invoiced, that we kept records, and those kind of things. And then the next person after that was then somebody within the HR team. So for me, it was the business support first, so I could continue doing what I was doing and do more of it and do it better. And then as we grew again, it's like, actually, now I need another one of me. I need another HR person within that. So, yeah. So again, I'm going to ask people in the room, but if people online want to join in, and then Brian can tell me about it. So what kind of roles do you think? So Richard, you nodded. Who I don't mean literally who, if you've got somebody in mind, but what kind of role might make the difference for you?
It's funny seeing your list. It's the admin side. It's the admin side. I like being around clients, but I know that I need to do the admin side of it. So it's almost that you talking about getting to capacity. I know there'll come a point in the next 18 months where I'll hit that. You know, can I get somebody to help me, which will get me more hours to do what I enjoy doing? And it's also what I'm good at, rather than, I mean, I'm okay at admin, but there's other things I prefer to do.
Absolutely. And again, it's that somebody I kind of follow on socials, and he talks a lot about, you know, are you doing the £10 job or £100 an hour? You know, because actually, if it is around admin, obviously it's more than £10 an hour now because of minimum wage, but you get the idea. Thinking actually, there's lots of people who can do that, who can do it a lot better than I can, but not many people can do what I do. You know, not in terms of HR or marketing thinking, but you know, I am, when it's just you, the face of the business. So, right.
And I think as well that's just led me to think a bit more on that. Is that I guess if you wanted to continue to build and grow your business, actually the admin can be. It's important to get it right, but it could actually be a stumbling block to you as the visionary sort of owner or leader of business, actually developing that business. I suppose allied to that is I would, if I was doing it again, so I owned an admin business years ago, I'd probably look at possibly getting something part-time, and there's other options as well to sort of look at. But yeah, admin, it gets somebody that's really good at admin to do admin.
Yes, absolutely. Play to your strengths.
Speed versus accuracy, that old chestnut is important.
Yeah, and that they'll have better ways of doing things because that's what they do. That's their passion. That's what they're really good at. About. And how about yourself? So I've just forgotten your name.
I'd say marketing, like what we were talking about earlier. It's Laura.
Laura, thank you.
The consistency, really, of keeping the business consistently coming through the door.
Yes,
because obviously I'm the one that does the actual physical, practical side of our business. I've got the skills for that, but I haven't got the time to be doing that and consistently posting and
and it is that
constant the admin
balance, isn't it? Yeah, because otherwise, as a business owner, you've always thinking, oh, but where's the next client coming from?
Exactly.
Or the next piece of work, but I haven't got time to go and find them because I'm working with current clients. So so first thing, be really sure what you're looking for. Don't rush into it. Really think about a really good way of doing it, which if people want, I can send you through a template, is to keep a time log over 2 or 3 weeks of pretty much where every minute goes. And then think, right, which of those things can only I do and brings in the money? Which things could somebody else do, even if I don't know who that is yet? And we still do that now. We're currently doing that as a project, as a team of 10 at the moment. We've got an online system now that logs it. But where all our time goes to see actually, are we being efficient as a team? So even once you've got a team, so I mean, many years ago, you would have called that kind of a time and motion study. But basically, where does my time go? Where is it best used? And which bits could somebody else do within that? Thinking about where you might find them, as it were. Not literally, I don't mean you walk the street, but you could, but I'm not suggesting that's a good idea. We worked with a digital agency in London who are really struggling to recruit. And they thought, hold on a minute, so they did all their recruitment via TikTok in terms of finding the right people and filled all their roles and didn't spend any money in terms of advertising. So like, hold on a minute. So it's thinking about where the person you want to employ, where are they going to see you? Are they going to see you online? Are they going to see you in your business? If you've got a physical presence, go old school and put looking for somebody to help local community, but you'll be amazed. Again, recruitment can be incredibly expensive, but also if you're creative, it can be almost free. Put it on your own socials. I think in 10 years, we've only used an agency once. So again, we'll go out to our network. So we're looking to grow, looking to expand, and people will share that with you. Really importantly, don't overcomplicate it in terms of your recruitment process. You need to be sure they can do what they say they can do. So carrying on with that theme of admin, test their skills. Get them to do something for you, preferably while you're there, because otherwise, obviously, they could get somebody else to do it if they were that way inclined. But test them to do that. If it's marketing, so we employed somebody end of last year, and we asked her to create some marketing for us and bring it and present it to us, and it was brilliant. And she's with us now. But that kind of thing, again, for us, for a HR thing, we'll give somebody a scenario. What would you do? And for us, it's not just, do you know your stuff? What's your customer service like? If they think, actually, I need to explain this in a non-HR-y way. So those kind of things. And really importantly, I say at the moment, it's been like this for quite a while now, act quickly when you find that person. Because the market, and I hate that as an expression, because people are people, not commodities, but people move on really quickly. I mean, I hear of recruitment processes taking like 6 to 8 weeks, and then they're surprised when the person says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I accepted another job." Yeah, when you found the right person, you'll have that feeling, and you're probably not going to expect this from a HR person, but you will have that gut feeling that they're the right person or not, as the case may be. So to act quickly when you find them, and then do all the right HR stuff, which I will share with you. But again, you've got lots of different options. You can do full-time, part-time, term time, if that fits for your business. It wouldn't fit for ours, but for some it might. Term time only, and then you're potentially expanding who's available within that. Annualized hours, 0 hours. Lots of different things. So again, if budget is a worry, it's not thinking I need to go straight in with a full-time role. Do be conscious of the minimum wage. Obviously that went up, was that a couple of weeks ago in April, the biggest raise ever in the national minimum wage. But I think the good thing about that is that probably it won't go up too much more in the next few years. Because I know we've got quite a lot of our clients, small businesses, who've struggled with that because their pay bill has gone overnight. So okay, any questions on that so far in terms of where to find them? And again, for ideas, like so many things, see what other people are doing. Look at other people's recruitment and think, now that's clever. You know, I could borrow that. Okay. Ooh. So when it comes to employing people, and like I said, I'm not going to go into huge detail around this, but these are actually legal fundamentals, kind of HR, employment law. But actually, I think if we just stick to these three, it works really well. So the first one, and this appears a lot within employment law, reasonable. So as an employer, whatever's going on, are you behaving in a reasonable manner? And that applies to the employee as well. So, you know, if you're making a decision, was that reasonable in all the circumstances? Would most people have made that decision? Or have you done something that's incredibly unfair? Or whatever that might be. So you hear, you know, reasonable adjustments, you know, if we're looking at disability. And the key is reasonable. So again, as if we're mainly small employers in the room, what's reasonable and expected of us is different to, I don't know why I always use Tesco as an example, but I do. So, you know, maybe if somebody, unfortunately, while working for you becomes disabled in some way. So as, for example, our office is on the first floor. So we wouldn't be expected, it wouldn't be reasonable for us to install a stair lift, mainly because probably the landlord wouldn't let us, but it would cost a lot. I'm not saying we wouldn't, or to move the entire office. But for somewhere like Tesco, potentially yes, as in yes, you could redeploy that person somewhere else, or you could spend more money adapting the office. So I always say to people, if you're thinking, oh, am I doing the right thing? Is this safe? Think, is that reasonable? And again, within the bounds of confidentiality, maybe speak to somebody else. So tell me honestly, am I being reasonable or am I being unfair, irrational? Because we can all do that in the heat of the moment, can't we? Within that. Linked to that, fair and equitable being the key word. Again, because again, in different circumstances. So giving everybody the best chance at work. So some people, for a variety of reasons, may need more support than somebody else. Okay, and probably that's a lot of people within the world of employment talk about this. You know, if everyone heard of people saying, "Oh, they've been here less than 2 years," do you hear that? Yeah. So where that comes from, again, we'll cover that a tiny bit. Is unfair dismissal. So really quickly, somebody usually can't claim unfair dismissal if they haven't been with you for 2 years. So if I had a penny for every time somebody said to me as a client, oh, it's all right, they haven't been here 2 years, I would have retired probably about 15 years ago because of that. And they are right, but the biggest part of kind of employment law in terms of risk is around equality, quite rightly, in my humble opinion. So actually, somebody might have only worked for you for a month, but if they think something you've done goes against the Equality Act, so you've done, you know, you did that because, so for example, I don't know, you dismissed somebody because they told you they were pregnant. I mean, I'm hoping we're beyond that now. In most businesses, they would have an automatic case for unfair dismissal, even though they haven't been with you for that long, but also around sex discrimination as well. So hopefully nobody's going to rely on, oh, well, it's all right, they haven't been here for 2 years, I'm just going to be mean and horrible. But actually always be aware of other things within that. And the final point on this, again, kind of fits with being reasonable, but no surprises. So the classic that somebody says, all right, actually, do you know, it's really not working out. That's the end of your employment, but you haven't said anything up until now. They worked for you, they think they're doing a great job because you haven't given them any feedback, you haven't told them, and then one day you've had enough. You say, right, that's it, I'm sorry, it's not working out. Well, that's not fair. If you told me, I could have done something about that. So again, always be thinking, you know, kind of no surprises in the world of employment. Okay, does that make sense? And like I said, for you know, that's kind of fundamentals for HR people, but I also think actually it's quite a nice 3 things or 4 technically to remember as a business owner. You know, I just need to be reasonable, fair, equitable, and no surprises. So if something's happening in the business or something's happening with that person, I need to talk to them. I can't just throw it at them within them. And this is one of my favorite quotes. You've probably seen it somewhere before. We use it a lot in a lot of our training. So Maya Angelou, who I think she only passed away last year, actually, American poet. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I think it's a really nice kind of mantra to work by. And we probably all got examples where there's certain people that you remember them because of the impact they had on you. If somebody said, why, what did they do? You'd be like, do you know, I can't remember that. And as an employer, you know, you want to be remembered in a favourable way. I think actually, do you know what, you know, and we're going to do something shortly in terms of what makes a great employer. You want people to be sat in a room like that thinking, oh yeah, do you know, I worked for this lady called Laura and she was amazing. You know, she made me feel valued. You know, she made me feel special. And they might say, well, what did she do? And said, you know, it's such a long time ago, I can't remember, but I do remember the impact that she had on me. So always to have that in mind. Okay. Okay, so again, apologies to people online because this is going to involve chocolate as prizes to the people that are in the room, but do join in online. So what kind of thing? So this, I thought the file made it look a little bit legal. So like I said, this is the last bit around the legal side of employing people. What do you have to do? What do you have to have in place? Brian, oh, Brian.
Just a question.
Yep.
There is a lot of victimization and indirect bullying, etc. And also, the share screen went off for some reason.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah.
Just a little, all of the participants will be receiving this presentation afterwards,
Okay.
so they can see the slides as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. So the question was
yes,
around discrimination.
This is a question from Carolyn Henderson to everybody. There is also a lot of victimisation and indirect bullying employers forget this. Which is exactly what she said.
Employers forget that, do you
Yeah.
say?
So, yeah, as in a lot of victimisation, if people don't fit in the team, I suppose. Yeah, so if we could just sort of elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge topic in itself. But yeah, again, as an employer, if you're aware of that, then you have a duty to do something about it. And there's already a lot of legislation, but there's more legislation coming in October around harassment in the workplace. But it's being aware, and part of that I was thinking is creating a culture where if for whatever reason the person who is the victim of that is not going to come forward, that other people would and say, hold on, I've seen something happening, it's not right, this isn't, well, it's not right, full stop, and it's certainly not right in this business. What can do? The indirect is where it's not. So I use that example to know of, somebody says they're pregnant, right, you're out of a job. I think probably, well, most people know that's illegal to do that and wrong. Indirect would be that doesn't happen, but how that person is then treated goes downhill. So perhaps they're, and we're sadly at the moment investigating something similar around how somebody was treated during kind of lead up to maternity leave. So not being invited to socials. Being excluded, this person was in a management team, being excluded from decisions, not being kept in the loop, all those kind of things. So nobody's saying I'm doing this because, but you think, well, that's the only thing that changed. I told you I'm having a baby and now I'm not really involved in anything. But yeah, definitely as an employer, you have a duty to do something about it if you're aware. But also building that culture where firstly, hopefully it would never happen, because you wouldn't get people like that in your business and you would notice pretty quickly. But if not, that culture where if for every reason the victim won't come forward, that other people would and say this is not right. So okay, fabulous. Okay, so what do we need to have in place? So let's go back to Richard. Just imagine you're going to employ somebody and let's say they start Friday. I'll give you 2 days. Any idea what you need or have to do because you're an employer now?
I can only think of it from when I was employed, and I always remember I got a contract and a handbook.
Oh, no, there you go. Have a chocolate. You can have 2 if you like for that. Yeah,
Run out of chocolates.
definitely. Yeah. So a contract. People have to have a contract by day 1. It used to be within 8 weeks. It's now by day 1. I always wondered why anybody would accept a job without a contract, because you don't know what you're signing up to. But yes, a contract of employment which has key elements in it, and that's one of the things that we're going to give you for free after today. But it should be at least by day 1. But really, it should be soon. Yeah, and a handbook would be your key policies. Any idea what kind of policies you might have in a handbook?
It's straightforward. Holiday entitlement, hours of work.
Yeah, so well, holiday entitlement and hours of work would be in the contract, but then within the handbook, it'd be how do you book holiday? Are there any rules around holiday in terms of who can't be off at certain times? Or you might have a key type to be, if you're a seasonal business, it might be you can't take any annual leave at certain times of the year. Yeah, and definitely, yeah, working hours again would be in the contract, but maybe in the handbook it would be if you've got core working hours, those kind of things. Yeah. Anything else? Any other policies? Don't worry about calling them the right thing, but what kind of, so your handbook is basically to say to your new team member, and as you grow, kind of this is how the business works. This is what we're kind of, for want of a better word, governed by. Anything else you might want to have in there?
Company values, company policies.
Yes. Yeah, values. I mean, I could do a whole workshop for you on that. Around values. And then your values should be weaved into all of your policies. Yeah. There you go. Brian's getting a chocolate.
I've got a long journey home.
So yeah, so within your policies, so some of the key ones would be disciplinary policy. So Brian.
Neurodiversity is still not catered for by most employers.
True.
Wow.
Yes.
That one was from John Kellett.
Yes. I mean, again, a huge challenge. We've got one specialist neurodiversity coach as part of our team, who's been working with a pharmaceutical company for the last 2 years around neurodiversity, but that's a company with a huge budget. But again, it's having that understanding, what does that actually mean? How can we adapt to the workplace? How can we best support people? Because well, everybody's got something to bring to the workplace. But I would agree, it was John, wasn't it? I would agree. But again, it is something that is starting to get better. There's a lot more awareness out there. Richard, do you want to add? 'Cause I know it's a passion of yours.
It's a real passion of mine. If you could ask John to look into the Lilac review.
Okay, the Lilac review.
It's a way that they're trying to improve neurodiversity and disability inclusion in the workplace. It's a 3-year study. It's called the Lilac review.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
another one from Brian, or from somebody online via Brian.
Caroline Henderson, holiday dismissal, is it larger extension of your contract, but also explains more about the company and goes deeper into their policies? Sometimes they are far too long and not everyone can read or understand it properly.
Yeah. Okay. So is that around handbooks and policies?
So your holiday dismissal, is it a larger extension of your contract?
Yeah.
Is it exact words?
Holiday dismissal. I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not sure what Caroline means by that. But your annual leave or holiday entitlement would be in your contract, and that's a contractual benefit. So you, as an employer, so Richard has to honour. So Richard needs to give some thought what he puts in that contract, because he might want to give them 80 days holiday a year, but that might not work for the business. But equally, Richard, you have to give them at least 5.6 weeks annual leave per year. Yeah, and again, I mean, they're two very different things, but just because Caroline mentioned the word dismissal, to have a disciplinary policy.
Is it like maybe perhaps like garden leave, holiday dismissal? In other words, look, we want rid of you, but
right, okay.
Look, we're going to pay you 2 weeks.
Yes.
Like
so again, a hugely complex area, so it would depend on the situation. But you can. So we won't talk about how to dismiss, because that's a whole workshop and a whole load of employment law. So I don't want to say anything that too brief at this point. But your options are payment in lieu of notice, so sometimes called pylon. So it's got nothing to do with electricity. It would need to be in the contract, but again, most people are, say, actually, I'd like you to go now, but I'll still pay you. Most people are okay with that. Or the garden leave is similar, as in that if it's a physical workplace, they leave the workplace at that time, but they have to be available. So if they're on 3 months' notice, they have to be available. So that might be for a handover. So basically they can't start another role without permission to do that. Brian.
Many companies don't provide contracts, and there is an assumption that a basic contract applies, again from Karen.
Well, ultimately, it's an employment law right, so you have to provide a contract. I don't know why you wouldn't. It used to be, a lot of people would say, actually, either if you haven't got one, or you've got one but it never got signed and it's not on file and nobody can find it, it's what's called acceptance by conduct. But that got blown out the water a couple of years ago with a case law. So yes, you have accepted, because you're coming to work every day. You're taking a salary. So yes, you are working for that business. But if there's something in that contract, so things like restricted covenants that says what you can and can't do, quite rightly, somebody could say, well, I didn't sign up to that. But equally, as an employer, if you don't have a contract and you're thinking, I don't want them working for a competitor, but you didn't give them a contract, it's kind of tough. Yeah, Greg.
And I suppose just a corollary to that, and then I was going to get myself a couple of chocolates. If you've had a contract and then it's fixed term and it's extended, does the organisation or business have to issue a new one, or
yes, they should do, or it can be an extension too, so it doesn't have to be a whole new contract. Right. It can be that we're now extending it for another,
would that be
6 months, 12 months,
something like that?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah. So basically, if somebody's contract changes for whatever reason, if it's not too complicated, you can just do it within a letter, still get both parties to sign it. But sometimes it can be that actually maybe somebody's had a contract for a really long time, so that wouldn't really be with a fixed term. I think actually a lot of things have changed in the business, so maybe they're moving into a different role. We'd like you to sign a new contract, but then be really careful to be honest and say what's different.
And I was just going to say things like induction, health and safety policies would be a good one.
Yes.
And then just a general, well, I say general, but equality and diversity, and the Acts of Parliament, presumably there's some sort of reference about all the Equalities Acts, 6, I think, right? Is it 6 now? I think it's still 6.
What in terms of protected characteristics?
Protected characteristics.
9.
Oh wow,
9.
so 9.
Yes,
Didn't
which is all, which is all, I always say to people, it's always really important. But I think if you're a good employer, and in my opinion, a good human being, you wouldn't discriminate anyway. But yes, in terms of there is 9. So it's being aware of those. Brian, there's another
Just a
question.
comment again from John.
They go, yeah, great. Catch up.
Neurodiversity is not always a disability. Those with Asperger's are often the opposite.
Yeah, again, really complicated area of law, but under the Equality Act and what was disability discrimination before it all got kind of wedged in to the Equality Act, there is a definition of disability. And I don't know it off by heart, but you know, something has to have a long-term effect on your ability to carry out data. It's longer than that, but that's the general thing. So again, I've seen cases where, for example, migraines have been a disability because of the impact it has on that person. Whereas other people may have the occasional migraine, but maybe they can continue working or it only happens very rarely. But this was with somebody who, you know, would get them quite frequently, wouldn't be able to do anything for 3 or 4 days. So that's where I worked before Gateway. So we, you know, made reasonable adjustments for that individual. And you're right, different kind of, because you've got physical health and mental health. Some will be covered, some won't. And a lot of it will come from case law. So I say, actually, no, that is now classed as. Menopause, again, another huge topic. Menopause is another one that potentially, depending on the impact that it has on the individual, could be classed as a disability. But it's also something that will affect 51% of the population at some time. For some people, it won't be. So it's quite a broad, complicated area of law. But I always just say to people, and particularly with neurodiversity, having done quite a big project on this, and the company we're working with are brilliant. So they said, actually, we don't need a diagnosis because it can take months, years to get a diagnosis. So actually, no, if you need support to bring your best version to work, tell us what it is and we'll do our best to do it. We don't need a piece of paper. We don't need something from a doctor or a consultant. If you're asking for help because you want to do a good job, why would we not? And I think that's quite a good way of looking at it. So I'll just bring these up individually, but we'll go through. Is that it? Yeah. So I think we got a lot of these, didn't we? So full marks. Contract of employment. Again, they vary. So something like I said that I'll share at the end will give you, I say a basic, it's legally compliant, and for most roles it fits. But sometimes you might want to put something in that's more detailed. You might want, for example, a longer notice period. If somebody's doing a more senior role, or a role that basically, if they left and said, oh, I'll be gone next week, as a business, you'd be like, oh, what are we going to do? So you want a longer notice period. You might want to put in, again, I won't go into detail now, certain things within the contract, what can they do while they're working for you? Are they allowed to have another job? Which, going back to who do we need, if perhaps you've only got a 15-hour job, probably the person might need to work for somebody else. But do you want to restrict who that is? But again, it's quite a complicated area of law as to what you can and can't. Well, you can say what you like, but whether you could enforce it is a different thing. Does that make sense? So contract of employment, make sure it's signed and sent back, and keep a record of it. So that if it's ever queried, again, somebody says, right, hands in their resignation and says, well, I'll be off at the end of the day. No, in your contract, it's a week's notice, a month's notice, whatever that might be. Have your key policies. So yeah, have them in a handbook. Ideally, which I think Brian should have lots of chocolates for that. Have your values in there, like I said.
This is fine.
Excellent. And we weave those things in. So at Gateway we have 5 values, and they're all weaved in to. We have our own HR policies, but around performance. Touch wood, I think in 17 years I've done 1 disciplinary within my own team. But the values are linked into that. So one of our values is we do the right thing. So if part of disciplinary would be, touch wood, hopefully not, do you think that was the right thing to do? That's one of our core values. Another one, we bring our best version to work. So again, this has definitely never happened, but maybe if somebody was incredibly rude to a client or unhelpful, so well, that's not bringing the best version, is it? Obviously, you then have a conversation because we all have our off days, but weaving those values in. Nobody said this. This is really interesting. Number 3, you've got to pay people. Unless they're volunteers. But I'm afraid to say probably as a small business, you're not going to get that many volunteers. Unless perhaps you're a charity or a social enterprise. Pay people and pay them correctly. So minimum wage is the obvious within that. And also, and I'm definitely not a payroll person, but also you need to register with HMRC as well.
Something for my business personally that's not there is insurance.
Yes.
As well. We would require either them or us to obviously have specific insurance depending.
Okay, so the individual to have insurance. Okay, so even as but is that as an employed person or as an associate?
You have to have in the business I'm in, like public liability, but each individual has to have it depending on what content they offer.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay, because normally if you employ
the public.
Yeah, so we have a combination of, we have an employed team of 9.
Yeah.
And then work with lots of associates. So all our associates, you're right, have to have the right level of insurance.
I would have to do is to have that on my policy.
You would need that, yes. Yeah. So what's required of them? Yeah. So and then so pay people, pay them correctly. Again, coming back to your contract, are you paying weekly? I wouldn't recommend that, and a lot of organisations don't do that because it's just too complicated to do that every week. Is it monthly? Whatever that might be. And this bit's not law, but like I said, actually being able to pay huge salaries is not what motivates people, which is good news for us who are small businesses, who even if we wanted to, it's just not possible within that. Health and safety, Greg, you mentioned that, didn't you? So make sure you've got that covered in terms of, and again, it'll be different law for your business because it's more of a clinical business, so there's more health and safety involved, but having those key things covered. And again, quite often people think that HR and health and safety are the same thing, which they're not. So we know the basics, but it's thinking actually, depending on your business, get some advice as to what you need to do to make sure that you keep people safe. And don't forget, the health and safety is where mental health comes in, which we do a lot of work in that area because of sadly, it's the biggest case of, or the biggest cause of employee absence is around mental health. So again, being aware of that. That you have responsibilities for that. So within that. Next one, a lot of people, well, either just don't know this or forget. You have to make sure that everybody who comes to work for you has the right to work in the UK. It's not an overly onerous process unless you're involving visas and all sorts of things, but you basically have to prove that whoever you employ has the right to work in the UK. And I won't bore you with how to do that. You can have a look at that online, but and to keep a record of that.
Can that be like a passport or a driver's license?
Yes. Yeah. So, and again, if it's helpful, Brian, I can send a link round. So for a lot of the workforce, it is a really, really quick, but again, it should be before they start work. So what we tend to do, and we advise our clients to do, if people are happy to, say, well, actually, if you could bring that with you to interview, and we'll take a copy so that we've got it. If you're not successful or you don't accept the role, we assure you that it will go in the shredder. We're not doing anything with it. But if you are successful and you accept the role, we've done that bit. That bit's done, so you can start work. If somebody hasn't got a passport, it's not the end of the world, and that's where you can use the government link. Say, what other bits can I use? And again, there's lots of advice on that side. So somebody might be on a visa. Somebody might have right to remain for a certain amount of time, and if that's the case, keep a record of that for when that runs out. So actually,
have to be in your contract with them, wouldn't it? That they have to supply that to accept the terms and conditions of the contract.
Yes, yeah. And if they were on a visa or something and it expired, that would be a fair reason to end the employment because you have to, because you can't employ somebody who shouldn't be. Yeah, Brian.
Question from Rachel. Do you need that for associates too?
No.
No.
As long as they're not employed, then you don't need that. Yeah.
John, I've been refused an interview because I do not have a passport.
Oh, interesting. Well, that shouldn't have happened. Yeah, unless it's a role that involves travel, and therefore actually, if that's because you can't travel, that would be my only logic to that. Because like I said, I'll send you the link. There are other things, because lots of people don't have passports. If they're not bothered about traveling, why would you pay whatever it is, 80 quid to have something that you're never going to use? So there are other options, and it might just be that employer doesn't know that and thinks that's what you have to have. Maybe if it's not too late, you can send it and say, actually, I've got all these things, and I still come. Working hours and leave. So working time directive. So basically how many hours somebody can work per week. Right to annual leave. So I said about the 5.6. So you can, I would say you can always go above what the law says. You can never go below. So another good benefit if you're a small employer, you know, so you haven't got lots of money, give more annual leave than is the minimum. Because we all like annual leave, don't we? We all like to have a break,
Yes.
spend time with our family or whatever that might be, thinking actually that doesn't cost you anything. It might mean that you then need to cover that role. I think that's an added benefit. And then to keep records. So, you know, the basics, make sure, like I said, you've got that contract in there, that it's signed, a copy of the right to work checks, and then anything else as you're employing that person.
GDPR come into it when it's in the records.
Yes, so make sure, I mean, now most people keep all their records electronically. So again, making sure that that's secure, that nobody can hack in and find that. There are lots of very well priced HR systems that you can use. So you can upload people's documents to that, people can book their annual leave, etc., etc. But yeah, if it is still old school paper based, you know, just make sure it's locked away, who's got access to that. But also, have you got copies if, I don't know, your office floods or something and you lose everything is in there. So there you're, in true HR style, I'm going to say this is possibly not an exhaustive list. There are lots of other things. But for Richard, with your new employee starting on Friday, don't worry, I'll help you. This is a good start. Make sure they've got a contract, key policies. You can add to policies. There aren't many that you need to have legally, but as a business, it's better to have them before you need them, rather than something happens and think, oh, I haven't got, whatever that might be, a maternity policy. I haven't got an adoption leave policy, whatever it might be. And again, what we'll share with you at the end, you can have most of those things on us. So you just got to put it all together. How we doing? Okay. So, oh, that's the wrong button. So, question again, I think we'll just do this as a free-for-all because of the time. So that's all the legal stuff. So we've got that covered. That is important, but that's not what's going to make you the employer that everybody wants to work for. Because people just assume you're going to do that stuff. It's not exciting. It's important, but it's definitely not exciting. So what makes a great employer? Any thoughts? Think about, you know, people you've worked, unless you've been self-employed forever, presumably we've all had roles. Tell me about a good employer.
Trust.
Trust, like, yeah, both ways.
Very much so.
Yeah.
You trust your employee, the employee trusts you. Honesty.
Honesty, good, yeah.
Somebody that inspires you, a business that inspires you, and a manager that inspires you.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. A business and a manager. There's a saying, and who knows who said it first, that people don't leave organizations, they leave managers. You know, as managers, and I mean, actually, as a small business, you are the manager and you are the business if it's your business. But thinking actually, people leave because they think, I can't work. It's probably not the business. They might still love the concept of the business, but think, I just can't work with him or her.
It's the atmosphere as well.
Yes, absolutely. And it's all these things, and I've got a very short video to show you in a minute. It's all those things that attract people once you get known as an employer. Think, oh, whoever gateway of employing, I want to go and work with them. And what you don't want to be is the employer that people only apply to you if they're really desperate. There's nowhere else to go. And we probably, and certainly not on video, going to name some of those, but we probably know usually bigger employers that you think, oh, I've heard awful things about them. And interestingly enough, they may pay quite well, but what hits the headlines is how they treat people.
I'd say being good at what you do as a business as well is
yeah, it's something to be like, something to be proud of. I think I'm part of that.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing with being a small employer, they have a part to play in that. I think I'm really proud of what I've done. So this very quickly is a video from basically a huge study that was done into what's called employee engagement. So basically what makes places a great place to work. And I think it covers it really well. She says, hopefully. Is it gonna try to do that?
Okay, so it's not the greatest job in the world. It's living. That's not what you want to hear, is it? You want me to feel inspired, living the values, engaged. Well, you know what? So do I. I want to feel like I'm part of an organisation that values me. Me, as a person. Because then I'll give you more of the real me. The one who stays late when it counts. The one who puts in the extra effort. The one who cares about what they do. Not just a pale imitation. I know what you're thinking. He's not talking about my business. We do loads to keep our people engaged. But do you? Really? Or is it just lip service? There are 30 million employees in the UK, only 1 in 3 are engaged. That's a hell of a lot of line. Look around you, all sorts of people with more to give. Give your employees a voice, listen to what they say. Let us know why we're here. I am not a human resource, I'm a human being. And whatever you do, make sure it's real. We can tell the difference. Engagement isn't something extra. It's what you do and the way you do it. It's how you survive and how you grow. The rest of the world isn't going to wait around for us to get it. And does this feed into the bottom line? Well, what do you think? So create a place where people want to shine. Wherever they are, whatever they do. It's good for us, good for our employers, and good for the country. Come on, Britain, get engaged.
So this in itself is a really, really good website if you want to have a look at it. Still around. So this kind of video was put together. There was a huge study in, I know it was 2009, so I did my entire master's around it. That's how I rock. Just do that so it doesn't play again. Oh, it is going to play again. Hold on. So basically that's lots and lots of research into whatever it was, a 3-minute video around what makes places a great place to work. Like he said, you know, give people a voice. So it's again, that trust. Can people share their opinions? Can they say, I don't think we should be doing that? But importantly, from a business point of view, I've got a better idea. Because that's what you want. Because the best ideas will quite often come from your team. Because they're doing the stuff day to day. Having that voice, feeling values. And like Richard said, and Laura said, being part of something, being proud of what you're part of. Thinking, I always say with engagement, I used to say about if you're down the pub, but now it's probably more down in the coffee shop. But you know, an engaged employee, if they had somebody talking about who they worked for in a bad way, they'd be like, oh no, let me stop you. They're a great business. And this is why. If they're not, they just stay quiet. They wouldn't join in. But if they really don't like working for you, they would be the person who started that conversation. Be telling everybody they don't like working for you. I love this quote, not just because it's a rugby quote. There's a similar one, a Richard Branson one, but basically this says, look after your people and the school will take care of itself. So, you know, so Richard Branson says, some more eloquently than this, but customers don't come first, staff do. Because again, if you look after them, they're going to do a great job. And on that video, it always makes me think on the train. So always that you can tell if somebody's engaged. So sometimes I've been on the train and the person who does the announcement is cracking jokes. How's your day, everybody? Other times you can tell they're not happy. And that might be, on that day, it might be nothing to do with their job. It's the classic, you go in, I always think you go into a shop of any kind. Do you feel welcome? Or do you feel like you're an inconvenience to the people in the shop because they're too busy doing their own thing? And actually, if you feel welcome and they're, how are you and can I help you today? Some of that will be because it's their job, but some of it will be because they want to do a good job. They want that business to do well. So again, don't ever show this video to our daughter because I'll be in huge trouble. But actually, people get this. So our daughter does pot wash in the local pub, minimum wage for her age, could earn a lot. She's aware she could earn possibly twice as much in some of the bigger, but she's like, I really like it. You know, I like the people I work with. Most of the time I like my manager. She's like, actually, every now and again, she'll apply for another job and then she'll be like, no, but I like where I am. And I think, perfect example. And at 17, well, that's impressive because you think actually money's very important when you're 17. But she recognised, thinking, actually, I like being part of a small team. I like feeling valued, the atmosphere. And yes, I'd like more money, but I might lose all of that if I go somewhere else. So again, this comes from lots and lots of research. But these are the key things. So whichever research you read, these things will come up. Again, money's not in here. Happy days. So a sense of feeling valued and involved. There's a really good question within an engagement questionnaire, but it is very heavily copyrighted, so don't borrow this. But one of the questions is, I have a best friend at work. And people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, but do you just have somebody that you like working with every day? Again, it's quite a miserable place to be if you don't like who you spend your time with. But also, does anybody care? You know, I hear sometimes horror stories where maybe somebody's been off sick for a few days and nobody even bothers to say when they get back, how are you? Not because it's a process and they have to fill something in. Genuinely interested, how are you today? Or again, people on maternity leave who never hear from the business. Unless they've asked, they've said, I don't want to hear from you. But actually, it's almost like if you know, out of sight, out of mind. So feeling valued and involved, so they can have an opinion. Two-way communication. It's not just as a business owner, I'm just going to tell you what to do. I want to know what your thoughts and ideas are. Good managers, really, really important. A commitment to well-being, which doesn't mean that you have to have a huge budget. But again, are you looking after your team? Are you making sure that they're okay? You know, if I know somebody comes to, let's go for somebody comes to work and they really don't look very well. Do you let them carry on or do you say, no, you need to go home? You know, you need to look after yourself. You know, if you're getting emails from somebody, unless that is their role at 11 o'clock at night, you don't just think, oh, great, they work loads of hours. Do you say, is everything okay? Have you got too much on? Can I help you in some way? That kind of thing. Inclusion, a lot of the questions coming online around like neurodiversity. Do you include everybody? Are you an inclusive employer that as far as possible, we just want great people and we'll do everything we can to welcome everybody in. Again, we had that already, kind of integrity, trust and values. And they're the things that you need. And everybody's capable of doing them, but they don't happen by accident. You need to give these things some thought. Does it add to business? Yes. Again, all these reports, I could bore you with figures, but I won't because of the time. But a lot of the studies show the impact that it has. And those successful businesses have people that like working for them because they bring great ideas. You know, because if you're not happy at work, you might have the best idea of how that business could be better, but why would you bother sharing it? I don't care. I'm just going to carry on. My favorite line from that little video is, I'm not a human resource, I'm a human being. I work in HR and I hate it as a terminology. I think it's hideous. People aren't resources, people are people. And should be treated as such. There was a study, again, I know we're not big businesses here, but Sainsbury's quite a few years ago, so I don't know if this is still the case, of their how many hundreds of stores they've got, their top 5 stores in terms of levels of engagement, so basically how happy their team were, outperformed every other store in the country on all their measures. So I think their key measures at that point were obviously things like stock availability, customer satisfaction, presumably how much money do we bring in. And the thing that made them different was that their teams liked working there. So again, they gave great service, they did a good job. You know, if they saw something was wrong, they would put it right rather than think, oh, well, somebody else will do that. So that's okay. We're almost on time, which is unusual. Okay, so this is just a little gift from us. So you can take a picture of it. Obviously, I'll send the link to Brian to send out. Something we developed, well, last year now, is what we call our HR hub, which is obviously it's available 24/7 because it is all online. And lots of the things that I talked about today. So basic employment contract, policies, but just as importantly, if you're a new employer, lots of how-to guides in there as well. So that's just a link. You can have that for free from us for 3 months. Yeah, and do have a look and see what. So if you are employing somebody on Friday, Richard, I'd suggest you have a little look as to what's in there. The other thing which I didn't put on there, but we also do a free online HR clinic every month as well. So you can just join, and we have people join from all over the country, just ask questions similar to what we've done today and what's coming online, saying, just wanted to ask. Because I always say, and again, usually things around employment hit the headlines when they cost an employer a huge amount of money. And quite often, if you're sad like me and read the case, that have happened in many years, because lots of things quite rightly got paused during COVID because there was more important things for the government to be getting on with. Usually April and October, but just to throw a butt in, what they might be thinking of is kind of case law. So you've got the law, but then if something goes to tribunal and you think, oh, I didn't expect that to be the outcome. So the tribunal, I don't know if this is still recording, it's basically the employment courts. So if somebody wants to take an employer to tribunal, that's what that means. So so for example, it's been starting to a few cases coming through now where people want to stay working at home and their employers are saying you need to come back in. So at the moment, there's no law around that as such, other than maybe what's in your contract. But things are starting to come through tribunals now where a tribunal judge has either said yes or no. And that's where employers are like, oh, we do that.
Well, that's really useful to know those two sort of key dates in the year. It's a bit like sort of the budgets and so forth. Knowing when to look out for it.
Yes.
And because it may not always be in the popular press,
and like
maybe more specialist publications.
A minimum way, all the kind of financial changes are usually in April. So like minimum wage went up, your key kind of maternity, except not by a lot. I mean, don't If anyone here is on maternity leave, don't get excited, it didn't go up very much. But yeah, usually April and October. So there's about 10 different things came in this April, which I'll send the link through. And then in October, at least new harassment laws coming in. That's a definite. But there's also, well, something that the government talked about for years, and I don't know why they don't just do it, to bring in neonatal leave. So if somebody's baby arrives early, you might spend the first 3 months of your maternity leave in special care. So what they're trying to bring in is that actually if that happens, you get that period and then you get your maternity, which again, as I always say, good employers might do that anyway, but actually to bring it in is law. But that, who knows, they'll be talking for that for about 4 years. Yeah, but I do understand, because people say there's so much to keep up with. But the actual law as such usually only changes twice a year, if it does.
Emmett, to build on what Greg was saying, is there a simple way? Because I know a lot of businesses I work with, there's not a huge amount of time for this, and there's almost that fear. There seems to be a lot of fear, like we can get this wrong. I did like the bit where you said about, right, how can you be a great employer? I think that's, you know, everybody should think about that. But I think on a practical, you know, there's that fear of getting something wrong and ending up in court, or, you know, the conversation in the coffee shop is, oh, this employs a shower of we're in the legal.
Yes.
Is there a simple way for small businesses to kind of mitigate some of the risk of that?
I would say make sure you've got those basics in place, which obviously are on the slides that I'm going to say, your contract, basic policies, right, things that you absolutely have to do, and they don't change. What goes in your contract might change. But also there are lots of, you know, good things that you can keep up to date with in terms of forums. But also going back to what, you know, I said about being reasonable and fair, you're a lot less likely to go wrong. Does that make sense? If you've always got that at the back of your mind, thinking, can I just dismiss this person? Can I just tell him or her to go away? Think, well, would somebody, without even knowing any of the law, think, well, if somebody else was looking in on that situation, would they think that was reasonable? And if they say, well, yeah, do you know what? Because I've had lots of, I've told this person lots of times, I've given them chance, I've given them training, they're still not performing, that probably is reasonable. As opposed to, you haven't told them, actually, you're just a bit grumpy today. And that poor person got the brunt of your grumpiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But again, there'll be people in there's lots of people out there. We do employment law updates. Obviously, we did one in April because there was so much stuff coming in. But yeah, just keeping in. But quite often the press are the worst, which is why, again, going back to what painting on our wall in the office, you just look after people. You're not going to go too far wrong. But what you hear in the press is, you know, people getting paid out a huge amount of money, and then people get scared of employing people. But actually, the ones that are huge amounts of money that you see that are in the, you know, 6 figures, the employer will have done something very wrong. So it's probably quite right that it costs them that amount of money, but also that's incredibly rare. So for smaller businesses, more likely to be things like you didn't pay them correctly. You got that wrong. So for unfair dismissal, which you needed 2 years for, that's just gone up, but I think it's capped at something around 90,000. But I don't think that's ever actually been paid out. Because again, people think, oh, 90,000, that would be the end of most of our businesses, I'd imagine. But even if that went through, quite often, it might be, so I use the word only very loosely, a few thousand. Because they look at, you know, how unfair was it? How unreasonable was it? And is anything else thrown into the mix in terms of equality? So there was a case yesterday, well, it hit the press yesterday, Asda had to pay, I say only, but it is Asda, I think £30,000 for a discrimination case for, I haven't read it all yet, but I think it was a woman who kept slapping a man's backside, I think is the general gist, and they allowed it to continue. I think actually 29,000, if you allowed that to continue, maybe it should have been more, but that's not for me to decide. But do you know what I mean, that's the sort of thing that everyone sat here from your expression is thinking, why would you allow that to continue? That's wrong. And again, like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I'd imagine be lots of nothing was done, nothing was done, nothing was done, as opposed to it happens once. You say to your manager, could you please, this person keeps doing this and it's dealt with. there would be no case. So,
No questions online?
No. Okay. Fabulous. Well, thank you very much.
So many thanks for that, Emma. Great presentation. Sorry about the little cutout there, but we got all the information across. Many thanks for the people in the room for participation, and many thanks for the questions from you guys online. Very much appreciated. Like we've stated, this is being recorded and will be available on the website very shortly. So there are any questions, obviously there's communication on the website as well. You can come through to me, which most of you have got my telephone number and email. Just a quick note, if I may, on the next event. It's on the 11th of May and will be on Websites for Business. Again, this will be a hybrid event and it will be in person as well. More information will be on the Eventbrite North Northamptonshire page, and we will obviously send out information in due course. But again, many thanks for that. And now I'm going to stop the recording.